Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Let's welcome our main speaker, Tom.
Hi, my name is Tom Whalen. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Tom. And I'd like to especially welcome all the new people that are here tonight. The reason I have so much water up here because I just like to drink. Very little vodka in any of these glasses. Anyway, I'm glad to be invited to come back and share my dreary story with those of you that are interested. The reason we do this, I think, is so if anybody can get any help out of my story, any kind of identification, or whether you feel like you're doing it all alone, you're not. But I think the real main reason is for my natural selfishness, that I just want to stay sober. And the more I'm able to talk about what I used to be like and what happened to me and what I'm like now is it helps me stay sober and keep things in perspective. I was joking before about the drinking, but I love to drink. I mean, it's a terrible thing to say in AA. I mean, you're supposed to talk about the demon rum and how awful it is and how terrible it is for you, but I just loved it. And I just love being loaded. I think there's nothing better really than to be laying on your back in bed, stoned out of your mind, listening to maybe some good jazz music or something, you know, and just watching the ceiling just roll around, you know. And if you have enough strength left and you can drag your leg off the bed and put it on the floor and everything miraculously stops. And that to me is controlled drinking. I just really, I just loved it. And I'll tell you, if you could still do it, you'd have a different speaker tonight, because I'd be out doing it. And I gave it my best shot. I just drank as much and as often as I could most of my life. And I'm sober now, and I have been for a few years. And I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I just like the program. I like the people. I like just everything about it. I'm just very fortunate. That's not a requirement for staying sober. You know, you just, whether you like the meetings or not, you have to go to them. But I just happen to enjoy Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've had quite a life. I didn't start drinking until I was in grammar school. I didn't want to get into soon. And I drank at every opportunity, and I had a very sad growing up, very sad childhood. My parents didn't even drink. Tell you about a sad life that was. You people had parents to blame this thing on. I had to do this thing all by myself. And I stole it out of neighbors' houses and stuff like that as a little kid. And I got into enough trouble in grammar school that they sent me off to a rich man's reform school out in Long Island in New York. And I'm a native Californian, born and raised in West Los Angeles. And here I am back east, 3,000 miles away from home, and hating every minute of it. But on weekends, if I behaved myself, I could get into New York City. And I could go into places like Bop City and Birdland, and I was 14, 15 years old, and I loved to go in those bars and see people like Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, and Stan Getz when he was getting a start, and it was exciting, and nothing like going to dinner at 21 and a store club. My sister was a very well-known movie actress in the late 30s and 40s, and she was married to a guy who had some money, so I had a lot of nice financial things about my period that I'm talking about now. And I was in New York at probably the best part of the history of New York in the late 40s, early 50s. And it was exciting, and Ryan Ginger, and it was just wonderful. And I begged and borrowed and got back to Los Angeles, my home, and finished my last 2 years of high school, Loyola High School, where I guess my only claim to fame is that I carried a bottle in my glove compartment and came to Latin class, smashed a few times, and got out of school and went over to Santa Monica City College. And I've been a daily drinker now since I was a junior in high school. And I mean, every single solitary day, never missed a day. And which I'm kind of proud of. And went to Santa Monica City College, a kid 18, 19 years old. I was either stoned or hungover or both. And I wanted to get out of town. I just didn't like my life at all. And it's kind of interesting. I was giving this jury talk about 4 weeks ago, and it was on a Saturday night, as a matter of fact, and I just happened to think, and I'm looking at it from the perspective of a 69-year-old man, a guy that's sober a while, and maybe it isn't fair on me or anybody else, but I think how sad it was for me to be an 18, 19-year-old kid, drunk as much as I could possibly be. I had no ambition to do anything more than to sit around with my friends and listen to jazz music and just be loaded. I mean, it's kind of a sad deal. But anyway, I just want to get out of town. I want to get away from this girl I was dating, and it was getting too hot and heavy, so I volunteered to be drafted. That was a smart trick. So I got drafted right away, and I went overseas immediately. I went to Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Kentucky, which is overseas if you're a native Californian. And here I am down there about a year later. She comes down to visit me, ostensibly for the weekend, and she gets off the plane and she says, well, now that I'm here, why don't we get married? And I thought, well, okay, big, strong Tom. I have no desire for any of this kind of stuff. So here I am, married and shackled with her, and I get out of the Army in 1956, and here I am married, and I have 2 babies, one getting born, 1 a year old, and I felt like my life was over. I was screwed. I haven't even dated, for Christ's sake, and here I am shackled with this responsibilities. I mean, still don't know how all that happened. And I woke up a civilian, and I went back to work for my father in the electrical contracting business, which I still do today. And I didn't feel like I even had an aptitude for it. It was just something to do, you know. I mean, I had the responsibilities, and I was raised very well. I was raised with good values, and I know how to act and how to behave and what's correct and not correct. And somehow drinking during the day, which I've been doing now for the last several years, somehow didn't fit into the stereotypical idea of how I should behave. And so I started to get an idea that I shouldn't drink during the day, which I think was very nice of me. And so I didn't drink during the day. I drank in the evenings, that's all right. Drink on the weekends, cut the lawn, wash the car, have a few beers, have a nap, you know, it's no big deal, kind of an all-American deal. Well, I didn't understand I was an alcoholic. As I say, I don't have any role models at home. And so I couldn't understand what was wrong with me. 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm very shaky and nervous and uptight. And I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I'm just high-strung, like I was diagnosed as being when I was in high school. You know, I've always had some kind of mental problems or weird things going on with me. I've never been too well-wrapped. And I started having a couple of beers for lunch, which made me feel better in the afternoon. Have a bad morning, have a few beers for lunch, have a better afternoon. I mean, is there something you newcomers can take with you tonight? I mean, it's a simple thing to do. I mean, relief is literally a swallow away, as far as I'm concerned. So I was doing that, and very innocently. I don't think anything wrong with it. I was doing it once in a while, not every day. I don't want to make a habit out of it. And then all of a sudden, I'm doing it every day. And then I realized that drinking beer in the middle of the day made me sleepy. And so I started having a couple of vodka tonics for lunch. Make them a double, if you will. And I'd be doing that, and couldn't tell anybody about it. I can't tell my father, because he had little or no use for people that drank at all. And I couldn't tell my wife that I was drinking during the day, so it became my little secret. And so I started buying like a quart on a Friday, put the quart of vodka or a quart of bourbon or scotch, whatever I'm drinking that season. And she would ask me, what happened to that bottle that you bought night before last? And I said, well, I don't know what happened to it. Maybe you had a drink out of it. I don't know what happened to it. So I may be alcoholic, but I'm not stupid. And so I buy 2 quarts on a Friday night. And I hide one, put the other one on the kitchen sink. No problem. And I work bottle A into bottle B and watch the line go up and down. You know, it's a lot of work, a lot of drag, but that's what I do. Anyway, you know, I've been in Alcoholics Anonymous for a long time, and I've heard so many great stories. And most of the guys, you know, they drink with great bravado, and they drink in your face. They don't give a damn if you like it or not, you know, and they're drunk, pass out in front of you, vomit on you, whatever. Great stories, and I admire those kind of guys. I'm just a little chicken shit drinker who's hiding booze everywhere, you know, afraid he's going to see me drinking, you know. It's just, I'll tell you, I wish I'd done it differently. I mean, you know, whatever. So anyway, I went on this way for a number of years, and I'm drinking maybe over a quart a day, you know, just drinking, and my wife couldn't understand while I'm passed out on the couch at 7 o'clock at night when I'd only have one drink. She didn't realize I was drinking all through the day. And I started getting depressed and getting very uptight. Or better yet, I would be just wild and zany and just manicky and crazy. Have 27 scotch and waters and drive you all home, and find myself the next night or the next morning or the next afternoon beating my fists on the steering wheel of my car, wondering what's wrong with me, why am I so unhappy, where did my life go so wrong, and what's wrong with me, and it was just horrible. And I didn't know what the hell was wrong with me, and I sought the help of a psychiatrist, something we all used to do in the late 50s and early 60s, and I found a doctor I had pretty good rapport with, and I saw him about 3 times a week in and out of private therapy, group therapy, all the therapies you can dream up. And he would ask me periodically, how much do you drink, Tom? And I told him 6 or 8 ounces of alcohol a day, doctor. It seemed like a normal amount for a heavy drinker to drink. It more than had to be a heavy drinker, because it is, after all, a sign of manhood or adulthood for me to control and enjoy my drinking is my great obsession. I didn't quite understand when I was controlling it, I wasn't enjoying it, but I was controlling it, I wasn't enjoying it. So I couldn't see into that in those days. And all I really wanted was have people get off my goddamn case and leave me alone and just don't bug me. I go to work every day, don't I? You know, I take the kids to Indian guides and the beach and bowling and whatever else I have to do, you know, as long as there's fresh alcohol in the glove compartment under the front seat of my car to keep myself tranquil. And, you know, what the big thing is. I still don't understand what the big deal is, you know. So I'm drunk once in a while, you know. What's the big thing? So anyway, I was in this guy's therapy for quite a long time, and about 3 or 4 years, and out of private therapy, group therapy. And I got sicker and sicker and sicker in this guy's care. Now, you would think I'd be getting better. But, you know, when you're in therapy or in some sort of recovery or in some sort of whatever they call it now, I don't know, people have a tendency to get off your case and leave you alone, think they're doing something positive, and thus it was with me. And I was, you know, kind of complacent, I suppose. I'd sit in the little club in Beverly Hills, right around the corner from my psychiatrist's office. I haven't had a drink since noon now. I go in there and have 3 or 4 double scotches or double vodkas or whatever I'm drinking, and I get myself well enough to go to see this doctor for his 50-minute hour. And I'm sitting in his chair this particular Thursday, and all of a sudden he stops the session in about 15, 20 minutes, and he said, "You're drunk." I said, "What do you mean I'm drunk?" He said, "You look drunk, you act drunk, and you smell drunk. I assume you're drunk." I said, "Well, a couple of beers for lunch," which I think is our stock answer. And he says, "I think it's a little bit more than that, a little bit more recent, and he's going to help me with my drinking problem, albeit my non-existent drinking problem. But I'll go along with the gag, whatever." And he put me in heavy dose of Librium and heavy dose of Stelazine. And if I'd been like I thought I was, just sort of mildly neurotic, I'll take the pills that are prescribed. And that's exactly what I did. Hell, I took them more than prescribed. I want to get well now. I want to wait around a month. And I went to see him a week later, and I said, "You know, I feel better this week than I have felt in a long time." Certain inner peace seems to permeate my life, sitting tranquility on the job. And he said, "That's amazing. Not too soon did people get this immediate result in tranquilizing drugs." I said, "Well, I guess I'm very fortunate." I said, "Incidentally, I need another prescription." He said, "That's amazing, because I only, you know, I gave you 3 months supply and you're out of them already." And I said, "Well, I don't know, I must have lost them somewhere, you know, I don't know." Incidentally, he told me not to drink with these things, but what do they know? And so I'm doing electrical work, you know. I got my pockets full of wire nuts and pills. I'm popping those things, drinking with them, and wiring a lot of houses and doing remodeling in Bel Air and Brentwood in the Valley. I mean, I hope nothing happened, but shit happens. I don't know, you know. So anyway, I went on this way for quite a long time. Pretty sad. Anyway, come home, you know, drive down Wilshire Boulevard, get to a silly corner like Wilshire and Westwood about 10 o'clock in the morning, wait for the signal to change, take about an hour and a half, and I'd come to, and the lady in front of me claims I ran into her car, which I suppose I could have. I don't know, I wasn't there. Come home some nights, rip that house apart, terrorize that wife and family. Some nights come home just as peaceful as I am this evening, even more peaceful. Come home 6, 7 o'clock at night, lay down the living room rug, take a little nap before dinner time. Sometimes I'd miss dinner, but there's other meals. And I'd get up 11, 12 o'clock at night, go take a leak in the linen closet and go to bed, just as you know. My wife was losing her sense of humor over this kind of stuff, which they'll do, so she files for divorce, the ungrateful bitch. And here I am, you know, stuck again. I mean, you have no idea how I suffered. You really don't know. Well, I ended up getting another separation. This went on, divorce court, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, ad nauseum. And I ended up in a one-room place right behind my favorite drinking bar called the Cork and Fork on Westwood Boulevard. And I had sort of a routine to get up in the morning and sit on the edge of my wet bed from perspiration or what have you, and go to the linen closet and pour a long, tall drink of vodka, have another one, another one, another one. 8 o'clock in the morning came, and I had a half a pint to a pint in my stomach, and I could, you know, go off and face the world. It's interesting. I'm living alone. I'm still hiding the booze from myself. Go figure. Anyway, and hope I wouldn't last. I'd be able to stay sober, not sober, but at least I can stay not drinking until lunchtime, which I did once in a while. But most of the time I couldn't get past 10:30. I'd start to shake and get those crazies and the terrorists. Excuse me, I'll be right back. I've just got to run down to the hardware store for something, ma'am, and lay down the front seat of my car and drink a little hot vodka and get the motor running, or I could last until lunchtime. I could sit in these bars. I didn't sit at the bar like people like you obviously sat. I sat at a booth and read my Herald Examiner and had my enough drinks to get me back to work, or maybe just go home to my little room, watch General Hospital, whatever seemed appropriate. And that's what my life was like in 1965. My wife came to visit me in October, and she told me what kind of a husband I was, what kind of a father I was, what kind of a son I was to my mother and dad, and what was I going to do about Christmas was coming up, and the kids needed toys and clothes, and the insurance is lapsed, and they're going to turn the electricity off again. They've turned the gas off. All these mundane problems. I don't know what they're telling me about these for, like I'm supposed to do something. Anyway, mercifully, she left in about 20 minutes, and I just flipped out. I went temporarily insane, I guess, if you could. I went out, and I think I tried to do a job, but I couldn't even drive more than 2 or 3 blocks, and I was just crazy. And fortunately for me, I had a brand new bottle of Seconal sleeping pills, which I just bought the night before. It was 100 of them. And I went back and took all of those and a bunch of scotch, and I just laid down that little cot that I'm sleeping on and just checked out, because I can't go on any longer. You get to a point with your alcoholism and your drug addiction where you really can't do it anymore. I'm going to be joking here and talk about this time it'll be different, and I can handle it now or whatever it happens to be. But you get to a point where you really can't, you know, there's no rationale of getting out of this thing. And please don't sit back there and suggest that I might stop drinking, because I can, at least when I'm drunk, I can work, because I shake so badly I can't work on hot wires or blow everything up. I can't talk without stuttering and stammering, because I have a terrible stutter and a stammer, but when I have fresh alcohol, I could talk. So they talk about don't drink and drive. How the hell do you drive if you don't drink? I mean, I was totally addicted to alcohol and drugs, and there's nothing else I could do but to take these things. And to suggest that I didn't take them, I mean, I wouldn't have a life. And so I just checked out. And it was understandable, I think, as far as even today, I think it's understandable what I tried to do. And a kid that was working for me part-time thought I was acting a little bizarrely, and he came to my apartment, found me in this coma. And they called the ambulance and they shipped me up to UCLA Medical Center where they pumped me full of holes, and I was to stay in this place for about, like about 13 hours. I guess they pumped my stomach, and I don't know what they did. I wasn't there. And I came to in this funny looking green room, and I thought, Christ, I even screwed this up. I can't even get out of here. Talk about bad breaks. And when my vital signs came around, they put me in another ambulance and they shipped me off to a mental institution where I was to stay for a while, but not for alcoholism, something respectable, suicide. And I was in this mental institution. It wasn't all that bad. That's where they put people like us in those days. They didn't have the recovery houses and the facilities and all the stuff they have today. That's where they put people like us, and I guess it wasn't too far wrong. And I was in there a while. It wasn't all that bad, really. It was a nice place, and I could listen to my music and read books, and nobody could call me, nobody could visit me. And it was, as I say, peaceful. I had plenty of Thorazine to keep me very tranquil, so it wasn't all that bad. But I can't be in a place like that. I have to be out pretending like I'm all right. And so I got out, and the first place I stopped was Jerry's Liquor Store in Olympic. And I bought a quart of vodka and a quart of scotch. And of all the things that I talk about in this phase of my talk, it's the most bizarre, because wouldn't you think I'd stay sober for a couple of months, a couple of weeks, a couple of days? But I know I can't go in my room naked with nothing to drink, because they drank it all up, so I got to stop at Jerry's and get a couple of quarts, in which I stayed drunk that weekend, but I'm drunk every day. It didn't make any difference. And I went to work on Monday morning, and I got on the fourth rung of a ladder to change some light bulbs, which is not overly technical, and I couldn't do it. I was shaking too badly, and I didn't have enough to drink that morning, and I knew what I was going to do, and I told them, Lee, I'll come back another day, and I checked in with another psychiatrist, this one 5 days a week. And if you're wondering how I'm affording a psychiatrist 5 days a week, I'm not. My daddy's taking care of me. I'm only 32 years old. I can't take care of myself. I can't take care of myself or my kids or anything like that. I mean, it was just impossible to do anything that any normal or semi-regular 18 or 32-year-old person could do. Anyway, my father would ask me almost every day, what do you say about your day, Thomas? Like there's going to be some big change. And I don't know, I just was in therapy with him for a while. And I spent a miserable Christmas and holiday season. I didn't want to be around my family because they all knew about my suicide, and I just wanted to be alone, not for the classic reasons that I could drink the way I wanted to drink, but I just didn't want to deal with what I'd been going through. And I went to Mass on Christmas of 1965, and I was kneeling in the back of the church. I asked God to grant me some peace. I didn't want to quit drinking because it wasn't an issue, but I wanted to sleep for more than 2 hours at a time. If you drink the way I drink, getting to sleep is not a major problem, because you drink all through the day, and God willing, the merciful God I know, you pass out, and that's fine. And if I could have stayed passed out until the morning, it would have been fine too. But if the alcohol affects you like it does me, I wake up in 2 hours, just as wide awake as I am right now, and I can't get back to sleep unless I pace that room back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and drink some more and drink some more and walk some more and wear myself out so I can pass out again and sleep for another 2 or 3 hours. That's what my life had been reduced to in 1965. And I just wanted to sleep like I thought other people did. And 2 days later, my prayer was answered, although I didn't see it as such. But I woke up one morning, much like any other morning. Nothing new had happened in my life, no new drama, no new catastrophe. And I went to my linen closet where I hid the booze in my self-cell, and I poured my morning drink and had another one. 8 o'clock in the morning came, and I had a half a pint to a pint on my stomach, and I went off and put the bottle back on the top shelf. And I noticed a bottle of Ballantine's scotch had about that much left in it. I thought, Christ, that's a lot of scotch, to say the clock the night before. It was remarkable how much I was drinking, yet it was no more or no less. I'm drinking all the way along, but it was kind of like shown to me. And I went to the phone a few hours later, and I called Alcoholics Anonymous, of all places. And I went to a meeting that night at Ohio Street in West Los Angeles. And I sat in the back of the room where you're supposed to sit when you're new. Don't get too close and don't pick up any coffee cups to think you're a member. And I sat back there in my hands. because I was afraid somebody would see me shaking, because I was shaking so badly. And I was sweating profusely. And this cold January evening, and I had it was kind of purple in color. I had green slime coming out of my mouth from the breath purifiers I was chewing, so nobody knew I was drinking. And some jerk raised my hand as a newcomer, which I think was very nice. I certainly didn't tell him I was a newcomer. I still don't know how the hell he knew. And that was the night I walked up to a man who's to be my sponsor, who was the secretary of the group that year. And I asked him how I can go a day without a drink and what I could do. And he said, well, you know, you don't drink. And I said, yes, it's very easy for you to say, but I can't get out of my room, you know, without taking about 5 fingers of vodka and putting a little orange juice in there, make kind of a health drink out of it, drink it down, wait for it to stay, you know, and then I drunk again just like every other day. Nothing new had happened. And he convinced me that I could get out of my room one morning. And that's what I did. I went down to Santa Monica Beach like he told me, and I walked up and down that Santa Monica Beach on a cold January day, shaking and sweating, and every nerve, any of my body calling out to give me some booze, give me something. And I didn't drink all that morning or that afternoon. And of course I drank Caro syrup, which I heard about in those A&A meetings, and I drank Cokes and ate a couple of Hershey bars. I probably should have died of a diabetic coma, but somehow I didn't drink all that morning or that afternoon. And when I went to the meeting that night, I realized it was the longest time I'd been without a drink since I was a junior in high school. I thought, how amazing, how miraculous. And I didn't drink the next day nor the next day, and it's hard to believe that last January they gave me a cake at my 2 home groups with 37 candles on it. You can't stay sober that long. And he went, nope, that cuts into my time. And it's just, you know, it's just amazing. And I've done little else than just come to Alcoholics Anonymous and not take that first drink and just keep delaying it. When I felt like it, I just delayed it. I used to go crazy, and on my way out to get drunk, I'd call my sponsor on the phone, tell him what I was doing, and he'd remind me I had a commitment, a coffee commitment at the Venice meeting on Monday night or whatever the hell it was. It was just all so many years ago. It was just, and I just kept delaying it, just kept putting it off, and it's just hard to believe I have all these years. And I've done little else, as I say, than just come to Alcoholics Anonymous. I got this man as a sponsor, and I started on this journey, which we're on, and hope we stay on. As I say, I don't know what, the program is not that complicated, really, when you think of it. I know we're pretty complicated people sometimes, but you just start doing these steps, and that's what I did. My wife and I reconciled shortly after coming to the program. I had some naive idea that she was going to go to Al-Anon and get the kids to go to Alateen and Alatot and get the dog to go to Alapet and that other stuff, but that was not going to happen. She couldn't see the need for Al-Anon in her life. It was, after all, my problem, and she continued on with her psychologist, and I went to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I guess she was happy to have a sober husband around, to have a sober daddy for the kids, and it worked out pretty well. That didn't last very long. They get a little tired of that after a while. But as I say, I have very little memory of that first year than just going to meetings every day, going to work, coming home, getting cleaned up, getting something to eat, go down and help us set the hall up, which I'm sure people do here in this group, and stay for the meeting, help break the meeting down, go sit in those stupid coffee shops all night long, go home and sleep real fast, and do it all over again. That's pretty much the way I spent the first year, and maybe the second year in Alcoholics Anonymous. And maybe to the detriment of my family, I don't know. It just seemed like I needed to completely immerse myself, not so much with the program, but with the people, the fellowship, the people trying to do what I was trying to do, and that was to stay sober, which is an impossibility, but we just seemed to all do it, a bunch of us, just in marriages and in relationships and jobs and running businesses or whatever it was. We just stayed away from the first drink and went to Alcoholics Anonymous at night, and that's kind of like the way we got through all that kind of stuff, and helped each other and talked to each other and did all that sort of stuff, and somehow it goes by it. I was sober, I guess, about 8 or 9 months. Went to a very speaker meeting on a Friday night, and I flipped out after the meeting. I don't know what happened. I just was crying and laughing maniacally, and I ended up at the the Santa Monica Beach on this full moon night like we're having tonight, you know, and it was crazy. Maybe that was wrong with me. And I tried to sort it all out, and I couldn't sort it all out. And I went to my sponsor's house quite late that night, got him out of bed, as a matter of fact. He came to the front door and wanted to know why I was parked on his front lawn. I said, I haven't got time to park your car. Park my car. I got to talk to you now. Anyway, I went out and parked the car in the street with the rest of the cars. And came in and we talked about what was bothering me, and I couldn't sort it all out. And the reason we go to our sponsors and we do this stuff, I sponsor half the Western Hemisphere, it seems sometimes, but we sponsors have magic sentences. That's our function. And you have a problem, whatever it happens to be, you come to us and we lay one of these magic sentences on you, you know, and everything's fine for about 10, 15 minutes. And this night he was fresh out of magic sentences. He told me to go home and start a searching and fearless moral inventory of myself, which is the fourth step. And I didn't think it applied to me. I mean, I spent too much time thinking about myself. Grew up a Catholic. I went to confession and examination of conscience. That's not a fourth and fifth step. What is? Years I spent in psychiatrist offices talking about what I used to be like, what happened, what I'm like now. And it was just too much thinking about myself. I didn't see how it applied to me. Well, he cursed me and embarrassed me, and against my better judgment, I had to go home and start this fourth step. And I was able to put in that fourth step things I was never able to tell a Catholic priest in confession because they were too tacky, too embarrassing, too sinful, if you will. Things that I couldn't tell a psychiatrist. You can't tell them that kind of stuff. They'll think you're crazy. So you got to be very guarded. You got to be very guarded what you tell people in that venue. But in Alcoholics Anonymous, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start and put all that crap down. Put those secrets down. Put all that stuff down. And put your goals down. Find out who the hell you're dealing with. So much of my life was living in fantasy land and let's pretend, wishing I was someplace else, with somebody else, doing something else. I mean, it was just silly. And it wasn't until after I got on this journey that I had some handle on who Tom Whalen was, and a lot of good qualities to hold on to. A lot of stuff had to go, and I wish I could tell you it was all gone. I've been sober, seemed like forever, and I still have defects of character. I still screw up and do all kinds of stuff. But what we do in Alcoholics Anonymous, whether I'm a brand newcomer or whether I do it today, is to uncover, discover, and discard, and to trust God, clean house, help others. That's what we do here. That's why the program is so, basically very simple. We just trust God, we clean house, and help other people. And that's what we try to do here. I know a lot of us try to complicate this thing and try to know the real meaning of all the steps and the real meaning of this and whatever, and just like beating a dead horse. But it's really very, very simple. And I think the basic thing is that you have to have a great desire to stay sober. I think that's the whole thing. That's why some people go back out again. I guess they feel it's going to be better out there. I don't know. I don't have that experience, nor do I want it. Anyway, I went through my 6th and 7th step on my knees like I was told, and made the amends to people I had harmed. It took me 11 and a half years to get out of debt. That's not anything terribly successful, but that's what it took for me. I think if I was to be honest, if I'd been more searching and fearless from the very start in those days, I would have gotten paid off a lot sooner. I owed over $16,000, as I say, and it was just a lot of money. In those days, it was insurmountable. Today, it would be manageable, but in those days, it was just, I couldn't know what I was going to do. I came very close to going bankrupt. I called the bankruptcy attorney, as a matter of fact, and got his paperwork and the whole thing. And then I realized if the program means what it says, is that we make amends to these people, you have to pay them back anyway. So screw the bankruptcy. I just went and continued to pay them off. It took me, as I say, 11 and a half years. But and I've been in and out of debt since then. It's kind of like the American way. But I went on that way for a while. I woke up. I was sober almost 8 years. I looked at these two little towhead children. Babies had grown up. They were getting out of high school. And both of them were stoned out of their minds. They're both drunks and both drug addicts. Are selling drugs out the back door. You couldn't couldn't walk in the living room without getting contact high, and it was silly. I mean, it was just absolutely silly. I mean, you know, why couldn't they learn from my life and my experiences? You know, of course, that's pure folly. I mean, you know, they have their own journeys, and so I had to watch them go downhill, both of them. And that 74, in January of 74, while this was going on, my wife filed for divorce, fortunately for the last time, and that's when I moved down to Dana Point, where I live near now. And as I was driving down the freeway, I thought, it was to do God's will, you know, you want to screw this thing up. And so I said a prayer that my sponsor gave me, and I'll share it with you. It goes like this: God, I have no idea where I'm going. I do not see the road ahead of me, and I cannot know for certain where it'll end, nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think I'm following your will does not mean that I'm actually doing so. But I believe this: I believe the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope I have that desire in everything I do, and I hope I never do anything apart from that desire. And I know if I do this, you will lead me with the right road, though I may know nothing about it at the time, nor may seem to be lost in the very shadow of death. I'll not be afraid, because I know you never leave me to face my troubles all alone. With this, I continued on down the freeway, and of course I immediately told him the kind of apartment I wanted. I want the business to be run. You know, you don't do this stuff, you just practice it. And I got down there and got a nice apartment, a lot less money, and my business was difficult. I tell this part of my story in maybe 15 seconds, or that much, but it was very difficult. I had to come back up here almost every day, and it was just hideous, back and forth, and little by little by little by little by little, I built up a pretty good electrical contracting business in South Orange County, and that's what I have now and still do it. But it was tough. But I started to date again, which is kind of awkward. I wasn't too good at it in high school, much less when I'm 40, or my early 40s. And I don't know, I met this gal and started to go together. It got a little too hot and heavy, and I broke it off, and then we went back together again about 6 months later. And, well, she was in South Coast Hospital having a radical mastectomy in 1977. I asked her where she was going to move to, and I said, well, I don't know. Or she said, I don't know. I don't want to go here or there. So I said, well, come home with me, and I'll take care of you until you start to feel better, which she did. And of course, their relationship intensified, and we were ultimately married. And we had a very good relationship. In the meantime, my first wife, who turns out, you know, when you're living with a manic depressive schizophrenic, you don't know, you know, you just figure, well, that's just the way she is. You know, you don't, it doesn't happen like overnight. And I don't know what happened. About a year after the divorce, she somehow got a hold of a .38 and she shot herself in the backyard of the home. And it was a hideous thing to go through for the whole family. And she had about a 9-hour surgery, and she survived that. And she has kind of a sad life up in West LA, and but you know, she's doing all right. I keep in touch with her through the kids and stuff like that, but it was not a pleasant situation to go through, because you know, you wonder how much of that is my responsibility, and if I hadn't been an alcoholic, if I'd have been a better husband, if only, and you can play that game forever. But I've made my amends and all the whole stuff, and lots of time when you make amends, you don't have people sitting in the wings applauding you, you know. You just take the lumps as you can. And anyway, my second wife and I were married, and we had a good marriage, I think, basically. I think the only problem in that marriage was my 2 alcoholic, drug addict children, and her 3 daughters and a son who were not in much better condition than my kids are in. Of course, they loved to come to visit us in their various stages of stoneness. They were just a joy to watch. Anyway, my youngest son fell out of a 2nd-story window, stoned on an angel dust and some cheap wine, and broke himself all up and ended up in East LA General Hospital. I went to visit him. I said, Jim, this is much to shoot for in this hospital. He was all broken up. When you get out of the hospital, why don't you come down to Dana Point? I'll put you to work and get yourself an apartment. Oh, no, Dad, I'm having too good a time up here. Well, fine, whatever. He did come down a couple of years later, and he stayed sober in front of me because he knew I wouldn't have anybody in my business. It was loaded. and he got picked up one Saturday night for drunk walking. And when he got out of jail, he realized he had to quit drinking. He did it all on his own with no program, no nothing. He just cut off the booze just like that. Did it all on Quaaludes and marijuana, which is another program. You're on that program, I think, aren't you? Anyway, yes. Anyway, it was just a terrible thing to watch him. But we were having lunch one day, and I said, Jim, why don't you come to our meeting tonight? It's Wednesday night, Laguna Beach, my home groups. Norm Alpe's talking. He's about our best speaker, and he thought he would come for the entertainment value for no other reason, just for the entertainment value. And he came to the meeting and loved it, and he stayed sober. And May 1st, he has 24 years on the program. I can't believe it. And that's great. I talked to him today on the phone. He lives up in San Francisco now. And my oldest boy, he just got 20 years in December 1st. My oldest boy is like 47. I don't know how that happened. Well, I was married when I was 4.5. That's how that, do the math on that. But I'm very proud of my boys. They're both sober, doing very, very well. When my youngest son came and told me he was a homosexual, it just destroyed me. I thought, how can this be? You know, I got enough problems. Anyway, we worked all through that whole thing out, of course, and all that kind of stuff. He and his friend moved over to Maui and set up business over there. They were selling all kinds of jewelry and gifts and all kinds of stuff, and they fit and sold toe rings, which I guess is every father's dream to have that happen a little bit. I asked him, about 9 years ago, I said, Jim, doesn't look like I'm ever going to become a grandfather. He said, well, we're trying. So, you know, you try to... But... So my youngest son has made me a grandfather a couple of times, which is just really a joy. Going up to my youngest one's third birthday next month. They live in Burbank, and my 8-year-old's first communion in May. That'll be fun to see. It's just a nice deal, and they have a great deal. Those two little babies. They have sober mommies and daddies, something that my kids didn't have. I mean, they're both of them on the program, and they're doing well, and they're good parents, and it's just marvelous. My second wife, she passed away the day after Christmas of 1985, and I was devastated when this happened. I thought, you know, how can this be? You know, she had cancer for about I guess about 9 years, and time we were together, and when she was gone, I couldn't believe it, because you see, I'd done a third step on her disease. I'd turned it over, and you know, she died anyway. I mean, something wrong with this picture, as they say. I thought, how can this be? I was just like a child, just, how can this happen? And it was almost a year. 1986 was just hideous. I mean, I couldn't accept this whole thing, and I went through the year. I took about 2 or 3 long weekends. I went to a lot of movies, read a lot of books, went to meetings. I didn't give up any of that stuff. I went to work, did all this stuff. You know, just suit up and show up. You don't care how you feel about it. That's what we do here in Alcoholics Anonymous. We just suit up and show up and go through the motions, and nobody really cares. You know, you just have to do it. And I realized at the end of the year that I had done a third step on it. The third step says, my God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help. Of thy power, thy love, thy way of life. May I do thy will always. This whole program is, what can I do for you? How can I help you? I'd much rather be staying home tonight with my wife and watching some rerun than driving all the way up here, you know, and the traffic and all that sort of stuff, you know, and I'm too old and too tired and too worn out. I worked too hard this week, you know. Who needs this routine? You know, I can listen to one of my tapes if I want to do this thing. But because I was asked, I just suit up and show up, and and come up and tell my story about what happened to me, and that I used to drink every day. I was a terrible drunk, and went through all these experiences, drunk and sober. And here I have been sober 37 years. I have a chance at a good life. A little depressed and pissed off that I'm 69 years old. And Joe, my old friend, tells me, "Well, you're lucky to be alive." That's helpful. And and you're lucky to be, feeling well and be strong and being able to go to work every day and have a business and the whole thing. And I thank you. Won't last very long, but that's what we do here. We share with each other. That's what I did tonight. Thank you very much.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs, long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down. And then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.